And then when you're done, just turn it off.
The same button.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chavra, what's the, you tell me, the main introduction into the world, into the realm of Tiferet. I mean, let's get down to the fundamental of Tiferet.
The heart. That's the real fundamental. In many ways, the heart. It's not only the heart.
Splendor.
Shabri, that might be tantamount to describing a red apple to someone who is blind.
I know, it takes time.
If I'm asking for a definition and you tell me the heart, then my next question is now tell me what you mean by heart.
Well, I did
It's like-
follow it. I did follow it in many different ways.
Yes.
That takes up the heart.
So, Chavra, in a nutshell,
Any particular nut?
the essential, fundamental idea behind the essence of Tiferet
Is our capacity
It's
to grow
creativity.
Margot is absolutely
What did you say?
correct. Say
The
it,
capacity to grow
say
beyond
it again, because that definition is the essence, and it is from that point of thought processing, that Tiferet is going to grow and expand in our minds.
Could you
So
repeat?
say it again,
Yes.
and everyone put this to memory. Tiferet is
our capacity to grow beyond ourselves, or myself.
Tiferet is the energy center that propels us, allows us to grow beyond ourselves. Now, if you just take that definition, that is the launching pad that is going to propel us into a multiplicity of worlds. Our capacity to grow beyond ourselves,
What do you mean by the last sentence you said about, well, the worlds? You said
Propels us into
Our capacity to grow beyond ourselves is going to be the definition of everything that is potentially possible in life.
You're talking about transformation?
I'm talking about
It all.
growth, transformation, to grow beyond ourselves. And that is connected to the Tselem Elohim that we mentioned last week. The what we proverbially call the soul. Okay? The soul is that entity that allows us to grow beyond ourselves. Close your eyes and think. When is the last time I consciously grew beyond myself?
You forget who you're speaking
And the key paradoxical word is beyond yourself. And we used maybe accurately or maybe not so accurate, but I think it's fairly accurate. We used Sadie as an example. That to a certain extent, a little doggy remains a little doggy. You can teach a little doggy new tricks, but it is quite impossible for Sadie to grow beyond herself. Beyond herself. The human being, each individual, has that unbelievable, infinite gift of growing beyond ourselves, and that is what the Torah means when it says Ki b'tzelem Elohim nivra ha'adam, that the human being is created in the image or resembles the divine in this respect, that we can grow beyond ourselves. We have a spark of infinity in us. Marcia was first.
And I was thinking about that in God's image as you were speaking, to try and frame my question, which is, or maybe just something that helps me grasp that idea, is that if I think of growing beyond myself, it feels like somewhere, I'm growing into a space or beyond myself or somebody that I'm not already beyond myself, when actually the spark and the being in the divine's image means what I'm doing is finding that spark that I already am, that is in me. I'm not going beyond myself because there's something out there that I need to reach or become. It's actualizing. It's actualizing the spark that is there already. So having the confidence that that is who I am, not who I'm trying to become. It's who I am. I'm just trying to.
You're just bringing it out.
I'm bringing it out. I'm covering it. I'm nurturing it. But I am that. So nurturing it is just going to.
Okay, and Marcia, and that brings us to the, you all know this, the Talmudic expression that each individual human being is an olam katan, has the potential. Some of us see it, some of us don't. Some of us tap into it, some of us are blind to that capacity, to that potential. And you're saying, well, the potential is always there. And that's a good point. The potential is there, and that's why every single human being is so precious. Whether we know it or not, how much we tap into it, how much we use it. You want to be a schlepper and not tap into this unbelievable energy? Mazel tov. Live your life on the lesser capacity. But the enormous potential that is present in this energy center of Tiferet is this capacity. If we would only realize it and only find ways to implement it, is to tap into an energy center that is the splendor of the human being. There's a splendor in that potential. So to grow beyond ourselves is the essence of Tiferet. Thank you for remembering Margot. Shabri.
So, you know, after hearing your words from last week, which I got it on the internet, which was wonderful, thank you very much. And I was listening about Sadie, the doggy, that can never be like a human being, but I'll tell you, the doggy can be even better than the human being sometimes, because the doggy understands and always experiences love in a deep way. And so how can we separate the two like that? I really saw that with, you know, with my son who's a veterinarian, and the love that comes out of these animals are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we always have something to say.
Okay, so you bring up a nice thought. So Sadie has the advantage of consistency in contradistinction to human beings and human behavior. So the animal world has the advantage of, because they cannot grow out beyond themselves, so they're straight and narrow, they eat, they sleep, they are naturally going on a certain course. Whereas the human being has the advantage and disadvantage of, because we are able to go beyond ourselves, and we are able to go beyond ourselves and distort ourselves. So we have the advantage and disadvantage of erratic behavior. I can be a tzaddik today, and I can be an absolute
Incomplete.
vagabond. You know, I can be the exact opposite, not on a different day, in the next minute. So we have the advantage of going beyond ourselves, but we also have, with that comes a disadvantage. And this is where the essence of Tiferet comes in. Tiferet is realizing that we can go beyond, and we can time travel. We can do, the human being can do things that are unbelievable. Take a look at the history of science, the history of human thought throughout history. She's going to say, look at Freud, look at Plato, look what these people did. I will say, look at Rav Kook, look at Moses, right? We have that unbelievable capacity, but we have the capacity also to, and that is, I don't want to get into it, that's what the mystics, how they differentiate between, the difference between a human being and an angel.
Yes.
An angel is an entity, a force, similar in essence to Sadie.
Yeah.
Because an angel cannot do what it wants. An angel is so connected to the light, is living in the light to such an extent that it has no will of its own. It's great to be angelic. It's great to be an angel.
But is it really?
But there is a tremendous, an angel is called in Jewish mysticism standing. In other words, it's in its own place and cannot, even if it wanted, cannot go right and cannot go left, because it's just grounded in the light. The human being is a shtickle in the light, has the capacity to choose to be in the dark, and that's what makes the difference.
So it's our mind.
The human being is not called standing, it's called walk. The human being is called, in quotes, walking. We are walking all the time. We are right, left, middle all the time. We are not. So there's an advantage and a disadvantage. Donna, quick.
It's gonna be quick, you hit on it. What I wanted to say is that the difference between all other creatures, including angels and pets, is that they are created without freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our freedom of choice is what makes us different than all other beings. And in the freedom of choice, we also have the ability to self-reflect and to look at ourselves. Sadie doesn't ever look at herself or go within and say, well, how could I have loved, my master more than that?
Absolutely.
So the self-reflection and the choice is
Absolutely. So
what makes life harder than that.
that's part of the growing beyond ourselves has to do with that. So Tiferet points to every single one of our capacity for vision. Sadie can see things. Sadie cannot envision things the way we can. We can envision. Theodore Herzl that famous picture of Theodore Herzl looking out into the horizon, and he's sitting like this with his arm, and he's looking out, and you can the picture always impressed me so much. It was taken in 1896. If I was a fly on the wall, right? In 1896, and Theodore Herzl looking like this, and saying, "Excuse me, Theo,
Where was
can
it?
you are you imagining the modern state of Israel in 1948?"
Yes.
And he would say, "Yes." He would say, "Yes." I don't know when it's coming. I'm taking this picture in 1896, but I am envisioning this new state, this new homeland for the Jewish people 50 years from today. That is Tiferet in actualization.
So Rabbi, wouldn't you call that creation? The ability to
Yes,
create?
yeah.
We have the ability to
Vision
create.
is part and parcel of creation.
That's why intention is so important.
Yeah. So Tiferet points to our capacity to be able to envision. It points to within Tiferet, purpose is an essential, and purpose has to do, should agree with intention, And that's why Tiferet is called, in Kabbalistic terms, beauty, or splendor, or magnificence. because it is beautiful and magnificent to be able to envision creation's purpose or our purpose in creation. We ought to be thinking of these things, friends. This is not philosophical jabber, but we ought to bring our lives down to a point. What is my purpose? And before I leave this earth, are there envisionments and purposes that have not yet been fulfilled, that I'm just fooling around with? You know, I'm just waiting for what? I don't know what. So Tiferet in mystical language is called a bolt. Someone tell me why.
Flash.
A bolt of lightning.
Or a screw
Be
that's
careful how you answer.
Inspiration
Well,
comes in
It's called
a moment, in a flash.
Oh, it's a push upwards. A bolt has to be a push upwards into a new experience.
Why isn't a
Of going
bolt a
beyond.
screw that goes into something that is part of the building blocks?
Oh, let's
It
find
was
out.
said there were no such thing as bolts,
Sorry?
as you're speaking. When was this statement made that that Tiferet is a bolt?
In one of your books.
12th, 13th century.
Okay.
There were bolts.
There were bolts.
Or else they couldn't have used that word.
Well, I'm thinking of a bolt
Yeah.
of lightning or
Right,
something.
that's
I
the
wasn't
first thing
thinking
that
of a
No,
bolt that
no, I'm sorry, it's a bolt.
that attaches items together.
Oh, okay, see.
Aha. You were right, Kim.
It was a mistake.
It's a, yeah. What they used to call bolt were the large
Pegs.
pegs that they used to hammer into the earth to keep the tent up. So that a bolt is a securing agent. Tiferet is the bolt of our lives. And this Tiferet bolt connects. It'll be important when we get to Netzach and Hod. Tiferet is the bolt that connects the higher, more transcendent Sfirot to the lower, more tangible and more erratic Sfirot, which are which start with Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. There's a clear differentiation that after Tiferet, we're talking about a whole different scheme of things. But Tiferet is the bolt that connects the higher Sfirot to the lower Sfirot, and that's what makes it so essential. Yeah.
Yeah, this brings me to mind that Einstein was very passionate about this concept. And when he argued with the empiricists, I think I mentioned it before, forgive me if I mentioned it, that when they argued with him about how, well, it's what you see and weigh and measure, and he said, no, I didn't look out and see into the sky. E equals mc squared, that had to begin here. And that's so profound because guess what? It's saying that energy and mass are one. We are, in a sense, of that energy. And as Plato, Plato said, he called it anamnesis. It's a sudden recollection, a recollection of the energy and information of which everything here has evolved. And all of a sudden, wait, what is this I've just experienced? And you know, Watson and Crick, I mentioned them once too. He's studying, doesn't look at it. Suddenly one night he jumps up and he runs over and puts all these equations down. Where did that come from? That's the self. That is of the energy of which we came, or a soul. You could call it a soul. And if the E equals MC squared is giving us evidence that we are of that energy. But you'll forgive me, but I think what Plato said was right. Man is like a soul trapped in a body. And at moments of an emphasis, he has wait a minute, what is this I've experienced? It's like a return to
Very good.
that oneness from which we came. Right?
Very good. You're defining Tiferet correctly. Thank you.
Well, Einstein agreed with it, but you know, I mean, hey, come on.
It's good enough for Einstein.
So the biblical personalities connected with Tiferet is predominantly Jacob, and as I mentioned last week, many say Sarah is. Anatomically, Tiferet is right here. Most call, as Shabri correctly said, most mystics associate Tiferet and call Tiferet the place of the heart.
Yes.
But once again, the place of the heart needs definition. What does that mean? What does heart mean? You have to define for me what heart is. Everyone's gonna have a different, and I have to say one thing for sure. When the mystics say Tiferet is the place of the heart, they are not talking yet about emotions. Do not confuse, that's why we need a definition of heart. The heart is not yet defined as emotions. Emotions only come into the picture with Netzach and Hod, and Yesod and Malchut. So we're talking about something a little bit more sublime than
Esoteric.
emotions. We're talking about an energy center, a power that is not yet properly defined as emotions. Okay? Okay.
Can I say something about that? About the physicality
Yeah.
of the heart? So the heart actually is the connector of the entire body.
Mm-hmm.
It's the circulation for the body that goes
From top to
throughout,
bottom.
from top to bottom, so it connects. So if Tiferet is the connector from the highest sphero to the lower, the heart is that physical connector
Yes.
for everything. And it has its own energy center. So when in physicality, we think of the nervous system creating the electrical energy and the brain, but the heart has its own, if you will, its own battery separate from
Yes.
the nervous system and the brain. So it's almost like it can function in a way
It's
on
nearly
its own.
It's nearly autonomous.
Yeah.
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 Are you
So
saying the
that,
heart is not dependent on the nervous system?
The heart is dependent on the nervous system, but when we think of the electrical system of our bodies, the heart has its own electrical system, so it's like it has its own battery. Not that it doesn't need the brain and it doesn't need the nervous system, but they were able to differentiate that the heart has its own
An additional
electrical system, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's because the heart, if the whole thing about, I don't wanna get into heart disease and all that, but if the heart is not functioning, then nothing else in the body functions. If the electrical system in the heart doesn't function well, then it almost doesn't matter what the brain is doing,
Yeah,
in a way.
I think the same is true vice versa. I see three systems that are totally, that the body totally depends on to function, if not all systems, but three primary, and that would be the heart, the nervous system, and the microbiomes. I don't think that you can say it's just the heart.
okay, I don't wanna get into it because,
I know.
the left knee's connected to the, everything is interconnected, so I don't wanna be.
But this is on a different level.
Be
of
that
comparison.
specific,
And
but,
literally.
but, yeah,
This part
I
is
don't want,
different.
but what Joni said gives us a nice picture of, I like the way you said it, that the heart somehow has its own battery, and is kind of, nearly like it's a self-sustaining kind of organ. In fact, some of the mystics say that Tiferet is not the heart. It rather is anatomically, Tiferet are the lungs. It's the heart and the lungs. And they come up with a beautiful little expression. I'm gonna just leave it at that. It's in accordance to what you just said. That the heart, and do it symbolically, right? The heart is so vital to from top to bottom, right? To sustain the human being, that it gives off, the heart works so hard and gives off, this is how they describe it, and gives off so much heat, the heart, it gives off so much heat that it needs an air conditioning factor
The lungs.
called the lungs to cool it, to cool all of its work down and to give it a little reprieve. So Tiferet is that cooling off system working together with the heart, which creates of Tiferet a beautiful balance between the pulsating and the resting, the inhale and the exhale, right? It's that point that creates perfect timing, perfect balance in life. That's the point of Tiferet. Just
It's a question. A statement and a question. So when you're talking, I know that in Judaism, we refer to the Severa chart as parts of our body, but yet when you mention the word heart, I'm not thinking of my physical heart that beats and dies when I no longer exist as I do right now, but rather the energy center, the heart energy center, which is not a beating heart, but a brain or a mind, which is the connection of the mind to mind, or God to, not my brain, but my heart center. I'm just confused why we're, fixating on physical organs that, only exist while I exist in this physical form.
because we we are, I wouldn't say fixating, I would say we are discussing it because symbolisms and metaphors are essential for us to understand what we're talking about in a physical matter, in a physical manner, and then taking that physicality and realizing, oh, but that's only a metaphor for something in the thought process. Maimonides clearly defines when he was pushed, what does heart mean? He asked himself in the Guide for the Perplexed, what does heart mean? Anytime the Torah uses heart a lot. V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha. So even the Torah is using symbolism. So Maimonides says, what does heart mean? And he simply says, your mind. He's taking it out of the literal. He's saying heart doesn't mean heart, and heart doesn't mean emotions. Heart means you're with your mind.
And mind doesn't mean brain.
And mind doesn't mean brain.
Right, okay.
So they are just useful. They're useful for us because metaphors are very useful.
It's useful unless we get bogged down in the fact that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about the physical heart and being connected to this or not connected
Right.
to that. And when you're talking about a metaphor of the lungs, I would have thought immediately that you would have said it's because God breathed into our nostrils life, which then, I mean, the life is through the breath of God.
Okay,
Anyway.
okay.
All right, as long as we're talking about the same thing, we're talking about our mind, not our physical heart.
What about Rabbi Shalomi, what he had to say about Jewish feeling? When we get into feeling.
We're not.
Symbolic.
We're not there yet.
We're not into feeling yet. We're not into feeling.
You don't see a connection?
We're what? Yes. Of course they're going to be connected.
Oh, okay.
Of course they're going to be connected. This last Sphira of Tiferet and the ones above, we are talking about energy centers that have not yet been transformed by the human psyche into emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They are raw power centers. In contradistinction to power centers that have gone through our psyches and now are transformed into emotions. Okay, it's a slight, refined difference, but a significant one. Okay, Kavra, go.
I think when the heart center opens, what is experienced is the beginning of a communion with what is holy.
Mm-hmm.
So what is holy radiates out into the universe. And that thought consciousness is coming from God. So you know, when you talk about emotions, I mean, there's a great